What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Hello, friends. My name is Michael Music, and I am reading this great book. It's called Think and Grow Rich. Um, and yeah, we are wrapping up what is to be the first reading of this book. So, if you have not yet been able to see any of the other videos, go to my YouTube channel. It is my name, Michael Music, and you can find all the recordings for this. We dove deep into this book. I would say that it's not just me reading it, it's me reading it and then, sharing extra thoughts and really explaining some things, and as well as getting your input and feedback to the book, because this is not something that I believe I have mastered. It's something that I believe is worth talking about, though, because it's some really good stuff, right? This is like really deep thinking, this philosophy. And today we're going to be talking about the devil's workshop in this book, right? And like, what does that mean? It's the seventh basic evil. So I just want to reiterate yesterday what we read. We just finished up the six basic fears, right? So we talked about the fear of poverty, the fear of old age, the fear of criticism, the fear of loss of love, the fear of death, and the fear of ill health. I didn't know I didn't say those in the right order, but essentially, those were the six fears we talked about. And before I really dive deep into the devil's workshop, what Napoleon Hill refers to that, um, I want to talk again about a quote or a paragraph that we read yesterday that I thought was possibly one of the most powerful paragraphs I have ever read in my life, because we just identified six basic fears that all human beings may have either experienced or had or still have. Whether you overcame them or not, it's all good. It's just like, at the end of the day, these are six basic fears, right? And all the other fears in the world kind of categorized under these. And in one paragraph, Napoleon Hill just eliminated all six of these, right? One sentence at a time. And I was thinking, man, this is worth repeating. I gotta share this again so that I understand it, because it is some really good stuff. So I just want to say, I don't know, the deluxe version, page 355 in the deluxe version, or somewhere around there. It's at the end of the fear of death, that section. And I need to read this again. Okay. Decision gave this man resignation over his fate. So understand how I'm going to emphasize the word decision as I read along this. Decision can also prevent one's acceptance of undesired circumstances. Right? So what can prevent an acceptance of undesired circumstances? It takes a decision, right? Now, this is where it gets good. The six basic fears become translated into a state of worry through indecision. The six basic fears become translated into a state of worry through indecision. Relieve yourself forever of the fear of death by reaching a decision to accept death as an inescapable event. Whip the fear of poverty by reaching a decision to get along with whatever wealth you can accumulate without worry. Put your foot upon the neck of fear of criticism by reaching a decision not to worry about what other people think, do, or say. Eliminate the fear of old age by reaching a decision to accept it, not as a handicap, but as a great blessing which carries with it wisdom, self-control, and understanding not known to youth. Acquit yourself of the fear of ill health by the decision to forget symptoms, and master the fear of loss of love by reaching a decision to get along with it if that is necessary. Okay, what is he saying? I'm just going to read the last sentence to really like put this point in. Kill the habit of worry in all forms by reaching a general blanket decision that nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry. With this decision will come poise, peace of mind, and calmness of thought, which will bring happiness. A man whose mind is filled with fear not only destroys his own chances of intelligent action, but he transmits these destructive vibrations to the minds of all who come into contact with him and destroys also their chances. Okay. So I really want to dive deep into this paragraph. I think it is possibly the most phenomenal thing I've ever read because you can eliminate worry, right? You can literally eliminate worry, according to Napoleon Hill, by making decisions. And so I just want to talk about it and like hear what you guys' thoughts is on that. Like it's just so powerful. Like going back to the chapter on decision, I understand now why some people study those first 4 pages over and over and over and over and over and over and over again because like like just making a decision really is the start. Like I said this yesterday, but that Michael Jordan quote keeps sticking with me, and it's so interesting to think about. Like he's like, once I made a decision, I never had to think about it again, and I never knew what that meant. I was like, what do you mean? Of course you got to think about it every day, but he made a decision, and what he's saying is he never had to worry about it again. He said, no matter what, I know I already made a committed decision, and I'm going to find a way. And that's essentially what he's saying in that quote. And it's just the fact that you can literally, at the bottom of page 355, he says you can kill the habit of worry in all of its forms, right? All of its forms. What does that mean? All of the 6 ghosts of fear through indecision eventually will lead to worry. So you can kill this habit of worry in all of its forms by reaching a general blanket decision that nothing which life has to offer is worth the price of worry. And I just gotta say this again. With this decision will come poise, peace of mind, and calmness of thought, which will bring happiness. Right? Like, isn't that what it's all about? Like achieving this, like this serenity, this peace of mind, and actually figuring out what happiness is about. And so like just making this definite decision right here, right now, like, hey, I've had enough of worry, fear, and doubt. And I'm straight up from this moment on, I'm going in on my dreams and I'm not gonna think about it again. And what I mean by that is I'm not gonna worry about whether it's gonna happen or not or whatever. I'm just gonna make a decision right now and stick to that decision, and it's worth it for the rest of my life, right? I think that is possibly one of the most powerful things I've ever read. So, yeah, I gotta say, I would highly suggest rereading that paragraph because that is some good stuff. That is worth its weight in gold, right? If you can master that paragraph, you mastered all your fears, right? Like what's the price I'm willing to pay to master all my fears, right? Like I mean, let's face it, we buy courses, we buy audiobooks, we buy books, and like what are we buying them for, right? To become a little better, and to better improve our lives, right? And so like how much is it worth to you to eliminate all forms of fear and doubt, right? That's literally the definition of killing the enemy, right? Like who is the enemy? The enemy is fear and doubt, right? And so it's like, oh, how do you kill an enemy? How do you kill the enemy of fear and doubt? You make a decision, right? And what does decision mean, right? To decide, to cut off, right? Decision is to cut off, I believe. So if you're deciding, aren't you cutting off all fear and doubt and just going in on your dreams? That's some good stuff, I must say. So that was yesterday. I wanted to reiterate that because it was such a powerful idea, and I understand I understand a lot of people may not be taking this as seriously as they could, but the few that do, hey, amen to you, because pat yourself on the back, or have a glass of whatever drink that you like, because you, my friend, have just literally found out the secret to cutting through and cutting off all fear and doubt. And I'm not saying I'm a master of this yet, right? I am saying, though, like, this is, it laid out in layman's terms how to eliminate fear. And now it's my goal to just master this art of making a decision and eliminating fear. So I wanted to say that, and now I wanted to end this live off with just reading about the Devil's Workshop in the seventh basic evil, right? So we talked about the six ghosts of fear, and now Napoleon Hill adds one extra evil to watch out for, and we're gonna dive into that right now. So I'm gonna read this. I think it's only like 3 or 4 pages. It's only 3 pages, 2.5 more so, and we'll talk about it after, right? So I guess just think right now, real quick, what'd you learn? What'd you like from just the art of eliminating fear through making a definite decision, right? That you're going to eliminate all worry and doubt through just making a decision that is not going to affect me. Just think about that. You don't got to write it down or post it in the comments. And think about that for a minute. And then I'm going to dive now into the Devil's Workshop, the seventh basic evil. So Napoleon Hill says on page 358, in addition to the six basic fears, there is another evil by which people suffer. It constitutes a rich soil in which the seeds of failure grow abundantly. It is so subtle that its presence is often not detected. This affliction cannot properly be classed as a fear. It is more deeply seated and more often fatal than all of the six fears. For want of a better name, let us call this evil susceptibility to negative influences. Okay, so this evil he calls susceptibility to negative influences. What does that mean to you? We're gonna read about it. We're gonna figure it out more. But like, already start thinking like, what is that? What does it mean to be susceptible? And what are negative influences, right? Like, it can be different from everyone. Like, negative influence is a negative influence, right? So, so that's what it's called. And he's saying that it's actually more fatal than all the six fears. It can't be classified as a fear. So I want to keep reading and find out what he's talking about. Men who accumulate great riches often protect themselves against this evil. The poverty stricken never do. Those who succeed in any calling must prepare their minds to resist the evil. If you are reading this philosophy for the purpose of accumulating riches, you should examine yourself very carefully to determine whether you are susceptible to negative influences. If you neglect this self analysis, you will forfeit your right to attain the object of your desires. So if you neglect this idea right here, you may actually be forfeiting your right to attain the object of your desire. So all that work that we did in mastering the 13 principles can be lost if we neglect this idea right here. And understand, he also says that men who accumulate great riches always protect themselves from this evil. So, that saying, like, birds will flock, feather will flock together, right? So, the people that are truly at the top, we're talking the billionaires, the people that are truly, truly, truly rich. And, money doesn't have to be the only factor dictating this, but let's use money as an example. They don't surround themselves with negative people, because negative people can ruin everything that they got going for them. Negative influences, right? And it can be so deep. It is such a shame, because it could be your friends and family that are kind of putting you down, right? Like they want the best for you, but they only know to a certain limit just based on their consciousness and their awareness. And you may know up to this limit, and that's what it is. Like no one can see the dream that you have envisioned up here. They only are looking down here. And so they're trying to protect you, and then being a little bit negative and being like, nah, you shouldn't go for that, man. You're not going to be safe, or you can get yourself hurt, or you're going to get made fun of and whatnot. So what I say this to say that just understand that the truly, truly, truly rich, they put up their walls. They have multiple walls. You know, like you can't get into my little fortress in here is what it is. So I want to keep reading on. Um, make the analysis searching. We're on page 359. After you read the questions, prepare for this self analysis. Hold yourself to a strict accounting in your answer. Go at the task as carefully as you would search for any other enemy you knew to be awaiting you in ambush, and deal with your own faults as you would with a more tangible enemy. So literally treat these questions. We're going to do a little bit of a self-analysis eventually, but he's saying to treat these questions as if like you're preparing for war right now, because it is a war happening all inside your head. Okay, you can easily protect yourself against highway robbers because the law provides organized cooperation for your benefit. But the seventh basic evil is more difficult to master because it strikes when you are not aware of its presence, when you are asleep, and while you are awake. Moreover, its weapon is intangible because it consists of merely a state of mind. Wow. Okay, going back, like here it is once again a state of mind, right? Like we understand now, we've talked about this multiple times, that essentially the whole goal of this book is to achieve a certain state of mind, right? And what is that state of mind that we're referring to from this book, at least called? And it is called a money consciousness, right? It's Think and Grow Rich. We're here, we're trying to achieve this state of mind up here called the state of, or a money consciousness. And there's other states of mind that influence it, right? Like remember we talked about how faith is a state of mind, how desire kind of leads to a state of mind. It is a good question to ask, like what constitutes a state of mind, right? Because he's also saying that this susceptibility to negative influences is also a state of mind. So it kind of goes back to the fact that we are trying to literally elevate ourselves and get rid of this, like, like the negative states of mind are down here, right? Like fear, doubt, worry, susceptibility to negative influences. And then the good ones are up here, like faith, courage, money consciousness. Where am I going with this? But what I'm saying is it's like it's back to the state of mind, right? Like you ever hear that term, like success is 5% strategy, 95% mindset? Like what is that saying? It's saying that it's really success is all about your state of mind. And we got to become aware of this enemy to avoid this state of mind known as susceptibility to negative influences. Because when you're susceptible to negative influences, you're vibrating on a much lower frequency, right? On the frequency of the poor people, or the not the poor people like in terms of finances, but just the poor people in terms of their mindset. And of course, misery loves its company. So you're going to be attracting all these negative influences down here when you're operating down here. But you elevate your state of mind up here, you'll soon notice that a lot of people, it may actually be uncomfortable at first, that they're going to start funneling out of your life. They just like, my mentor said this once. He said, become so positive that negative people don't even want to hang around you. And like that's so interesting to think about. Like you can become so positive that negative people don't even want to hang around you. And it may feel weird at first, like, oh, why are all these people not hanging out with me anymore? But at the end of the day, it's just life funneling them out, right? Like attracts like. So that was just what came to mind. I wanted to say. So let's get back to the book. Middle page 359. It says, moreover, its weapon is intangible because it consists of merely a state of mind. This evil is also dangerous because it strikes as many different forms as there are human experiences. So this evil is also dangerous because it strikes in as many different forms as there are human experiences. It can, like, how many human experiences are there, right? Essentially infinite. There's 7 billion people on this planet. How many experiences are they going through a day? It's infinite essentially. So this evil is can be, it can show up in any form, is what he's saying. Sometimes it enters the mind through well meant words of one's own relatives. At other times, it burrows from within through one's own mental attitude. Always, it is as deadly as poison, even though it may not kill as quickly. Wow. So that's the devil's workshop. Now we are going to talk about how to protect yourself against negative influences. So we're now at the bottom of page 359 in Napoleon Hill. It says to protect yourself against negative influences, whether of your own making or the result of the activities of negative people around you, recognize that you have a willpower and put it into constant use until it builds a wall of immunity against negative influences in your own mind. Okay, so essentially we're going to build a wall of immunity, right? And what can that look like? There was another great book I was reading, and I think it was Napoleon Hill's Master Course. It was this one of the books written by Napoleon Hill, and Napoleon Hill said that he has 3 walls up. Right, the first one is small, the second one's medium, and the third one's pretty big. Right, and he says that the first one is like, you gotta jump through some hoops to even talk to me. Right, like I'm not just talking to any crazy person out there. You gotta like actually show me that you want to talk to me. There's a reason that you want to talk to me and whatnot, right? That's his first little wall. This is Napoleon Hill's words, not necessarily mine. But I started applying this, right? So you have like your first wall. Some people talk to you, and you tell them a little bit, but you don't give them it all, right? Then the second wall is kind of like your inner circle, right? Like obviously you guys are working in the spirit of harmony. I'm gonna tell them a little bit more about like my dreams, my goals, and whatnot, and they're gonna have to hop through this wall and be in harmony with me. They either got to be a part of my inner circle or my mastermind. They got to be part of my family, or they got to be one of my close friends that I grew up with. So that's like my second wall, and then my third wall is the biggest, right? And as a matter of fact, no one can get over this wall, and that is my relationship with God or infinite intelligence. No one is going to get in the way of that. And so um that's the 3 walls. And it's interesting that he says again in here, recognize that you have a willpower and put it into constant use until it builds a wall of immunity against negative influences in your own mind. So he's saying use a willpower to build a wall of immunity against negative influences, not from other people, but in your own mind. So what does that mean? Use your willpower to build walls, right? I like to imagine I got this invisible band right around my head, and the only thing is that's for outside things. We got to talk about the inside, like how I got to ask you guys this because I don't have the answer to this, but I have a few answers, and I want to hear your inputs. Like, how can you build walls of immunity against negative influences in your own mind, right? Because this is in your own mind that we're talking about. Okay, recognize the fact that you and every other human being are by nature lazy, indifferent, and susceptible to all suggestions which harmonize with your weaknesses. Okay, so you recognize the fact that you and everyone else are by nature lazy, indifferent, and susceptible to all suggestions which harmonize with your weakness. Okay, so that's cool because we're gonna really dive into what is our weaknesses, right? And we're gonna see about that. I will say there is counter and philosophies on building your weaknesses. A lot of people I hear say work on your strengths and focus only on them, but you do gotta at least acknowledge where you are weak, right? If you are going to take that philosophy, so recognize that you are by nature susceptible to all of the six basic fears and set up habits for the purpose of counteracting all these fears. Recognize that negative influences often work on you through your subconscious mind. Therefore, they are difficult to detect. So, all these negative influences are happening at a subconscious level. So, it's not going to be blatantly obvious to you, like, okay, negative influence incoming. It's not going to have like a siren and be like negative, negative, negative coming for you. It's going to be subtle, right? So, keep that in mind. And Napoleon Hill says, keep your mind closed against all people who depress or discourage you in any way. Right? So all the people that depress or discourage you in any way, whether they were friends or family of before, I'm not saying you gotta like literally cut them out, tell them, hey, you're literally never gonna be a part of my life again. But he's saying keep your mind closed against all people who are like that. And you have a willpower, I think, is the higher faculty to keep that mind closed. Okay, next, clean out your medicine chest, throw away all pill bottles, and stop pandering to colds, aches, pains, and imaginary illnesses. Right? That's a bold statement. I know a lot of people might get offended by that statement. Know that I love you when I say this, but essentially, these pills are treating the effects, the symptoms that show up from it. And remember, we talked already about the fear of ill health. And essentially, we're not here to treat the effects. We're here to treat the cause. And what is the first cause, right? It's the thought. It's your thoughts. So I say this to say that, hey, you truly don't need all those pills, no matter how much that doctor or that pharmaceutical person told you you need them. And yeah, they may have a high degree, but you got to understand that they actually earn money from selling you these pills, right? So they have an incentive to sell you pills so that they can put food on their family's table, right? Makes sense. Kudos to them, right? When you're in pharmaceutical sales. However, just for the people reading this, take a step back and be like, bro, like I listen, I apologize that I'm not gonna help you feed your family, but I don't need these damn pills. Like I know that I have the power to go to the cause, and the cause is my thinking. This whole book is called Thinking Grow Rich, and essentially that's what we're that's the first cause that we're attacking. So that's why he makes a bold statement to say throw out all those damn pill bottles. um, that's just how it is. I can't say it any other way. Deliberately seek the company of people who influence you to think and act for yourself. Seek the company of people who influence you to think and act for yourself. I just want to say amen to the fact that I have been blessed to find someone who did help me really think and act for myself. His name was Sean G. Murphy, and he would never give me answers to questions I had. He would actually ask me questions again, and so that I would be finding the answers myself. And yeah, that's the man that influenced me to really start this live streaming and this call and whatnot. And so just understand that if you're here right now, if you're watching this video, you're on your path to finding the company of people who will help you actually think and act for yourself. Like you are on the right path, right? I hate, I can't say that word hate, but like I get so mad when people are like, you were in the right place at the right time. It's like, really? Like what are you talking about? Like my life is, like this was back then. Like my life is in a shit storm, and you're gonna tell me that I'm in the right place at the right time. So I'm with you on that. Like I still need help understanding that statement. But what I am saying is like, listen, you are on the right path to finding people that will actually help be a part of your mastermind, especially studying this book. This is principles to like literally like attract, like remember we talked about the chapter on the mastermind, and we're essentially focused on creating a close inner circle, and everyone's got to be working in harmony, and they got to be influencing me and you to go after what it is and think and act for yourself. Okay. Do not expect troubles, as they have a tendency not to disappoint. Do not expect troubles, as they have a tendency not to disappoint. Without doubt, the most common weakness of all human beings is the habit of leaving their minds open to the negative influences of others. Wow. Okay, I need to talk about that. The most common weakness all human beings has is the habit of leaving their minds wide open to the negative influence of others. Okay, I'm just going to ask you, what does that mean to you, right? Have you noticed certain individuals, and you can kind of tell by the way they live, that whether they leave their minds wide open to negative influences or they close their minds, right? Like, I don't mean to judge, but observe at least the quality of life of people who have the news on 24/7, right? And they're just zoned out like a zombie, mind wide open. All you see is on the news 14 murders in this city. It's going right into their mind. They're just thinking, "Oh my god, there's murder everywhere." And like their mind is wide open for the news, especially pouring into them. That is unfortunately what I think is 98% of the population does, right? 98 of the percent of the population keeps their minds wide open. They're drifters, right? They don't have it closed, and all this negativity is just pouring into them. And that is the most common weakness. Okay. Without doubt, the most common weakness of all human beings is the habit of leaving their minds open to the negative influence of other people. This weakness is all the more damaging because most people do not recognize that they are cursed by it, and many who acknowledge it neglect or refuse to correct the evil until it becomes an uncontrollable part of their daily habits. So, why is this weakness the most damaging? Because it's most damaging because the most people don't recognize that they are cursed by it. And even those who do acknowledge that they are like affected by this, they neglect or refuse to correct the evil until unfortunately it is so lodged in their mind, in their subconscious mind, that it just becomes a habit, and they just keep repeating over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, to finally, last paragraph I will say today. To aid those who wish to see themselves as they really are, the following list of questions have been prepared. Read the questions and state your answers out loud so you can hear your own voice. This will make it easier for you to be truthful with yourself. Wow. And tomorrow, we're going to talk about the self-analysis test questions. So what's cool about this book is not only is there chapters in it, right? Like each chapter is not a chapter, it's a principle. We put the 13 principles together, And after the 13 principles, we had some bonus content of 6 ghosts of fear plus the 7th evil, which isn't necessarily a fear, but it's actually, as a matter of fact, even worse when we're damaging than all the fears. So we got that bonus content. And now this book is going to serve as a self-analysis so we can really dive deep and just, like, let me face it, I'm 22, I'm not making $1 million yet, so I got to analyze myself and be like, okay, where is my weakness at? Like, where am I going wrong? And that's what's cool. That's why I love so much about this book, because it is something that you can come back to over and over and over again. Be like, okay, like, let me answer these questions for myself, see where I'm at now during this certain reading of this book, Think and Grow Rich, and see, just becoming aware is the first step. Like, where can I essentially improve upon myself? So, this is gold right here. I will say, I'm so blessed to be sharing this with you guys. I really, really do love this philosophy, Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, I especially reading it, all coming together, right? All coming together now. I'm definitely going to do another second reading of this book, especially just like being aware of, like, my first time reading it, like everything I saw. Maybe I'll see some more things. But yeah, we're gonna dive deep into just a self-analysis, which is gonna be pretty cool. So that'll be tomorrow. That'll be the subject of tomorrow's live. All right, cool. So I want to pass this on to you guys, or you folks. I keep saying you guys, and I apologize about that. But I want to ask you, what is one thing you learned, one thing you liked? What I'd suggest doing, you either can drop it down in the comments. I'd love to see your comments, because then we can have a conversation about it. Or if you want to keep it to yourself, write on a piece of paper, write, the Devil's Workshop, the seventh major evil, and write, now that I'm aware of this information, what am I going to do with it, right? And like, maybe we make like a bulleted list of like things that you can do with this information. For me, I'm going to become aware to start of who really depresses me and discourages me in my life, right? And I'm just going to not necessarily cut them off right away, but I'm going to close my mind every time I'm around them. Be like, okay, cool. Like, you believe what you believe, but you're not going to influence me. And additionally, I'm going to become aware of my own mental attitude. Like, what thoughts lead to more discouraging and depressing thoughts within me, right? Because it's essentially like, there's some times I have these like inner like beliefs, and it's like, okay, like, straight up, like, whether you're right or wrong, like, are you actually helping me out in this stuff? So um that's two things I'm going to do with this information. I would recommend that you write two things that, or more, that you're going to do now that you have become aware of the seventh major evil. And it's cool stuff. So um yeah, I guess I'm gonna end it off here. Thank you all for listening to this live. I swear it gets better and better every single time. And I am logging off for now. All right, until we meet again in time and space, by Facebook and by YouTube. I'll see you guys at the next event.